Alright, so I'm finally back now after picking up the new 10th gen Core i7-10700K processor along with the new Asrock Z490M Pro4 motherboard and ready to build. Now let me go over all the parts for this build here, and then I'll test it out and see how well it runs in some of the modern games. So basically this build consists of mostly used parts that I have laying around. I just went straight for the i7 and the motherboard. Now I was disappointed that they didn't have the Core i5 K series or maybe some of the i3s, so this was the only option to really get that had a K series that I was able to hopefully overclock, and we'll see how that's gonna go. So let's get started. Now the actual build may slightly vary, depends how well the cooler that I have here will fit in this case, and I might use a different GTX 1070 in my build at the end, something more beefier with like dual fans or something. But overall I think it's gonna stay about like same as I originally planned. So let's go over the parts here. So we have the Lian LAN-cooled 205M, which is perfect for this motherboard and it'll fit like a snug. Next I have the Seasonic 750 watt power supply. This is a fully modular titanium edition. That was also used. This is my chance to actually use it on something nice like this, and definitely won't have any issues with power delivery here. So I should get a really good overclock both on the processor and the graphics card, whatever I'm going to use. Then for the cooling, I'm going to go with air with this massive CoolerMaster MA620P. This is an excellent cooler, and as I'm sure you know by now that air and water cooling is pretty much the same, and in a lot of instances air is better. So I think this will definitely handle the new Core i7 and plenty of room to overclock there. This was actually a refurbished, this is a refurbished unopened cooler here, and I think I picked it up for only 35 bucks on eBay a while back, and I was saving it for something of this kind of a build. So I'm really excited to see how well this thing runs. Next I also have an additional Corsair RGB fan right there, right next to it, to give it a little bit of lighting. We'll see how the overall RGB is going to look. We're probably going to have the two RGB fans with the cooler and just the one rear exhaust fan. That's an RGB fan also, 120 millimeters. Then for the RAM, I'm going to use the Corsair Vengeance 3200 megahertz RGBs. There's an excellent RAM for this build. I think it's going to look real nice. For the main drive, I will use the Samsung 970 Evo Plus M.2 NVMe. This is 250 gig size, and there'll be plenty enough to test out this new build, and I should be able to squeeze a couple of games on there and get really good results. I know it's not a Gen 4 speed or anything, but this is still a pretty fast drive and should be quite enjoyable on this build. And for the last part here is going to be the Asus GeForce GTX 1070. Now this is a turbo edition. I think I'm going to change it probably to a different model. I think a Zotac GTX 1070, but we'll see at the end of the build. But I am going to definitely make this build with a GTX 1070, and to really find out the performance. I don't have any RTX cards. I wish I did, but right now like the 1070 or 1080 is really where I'm at right now. So we'll see further down the line. I might be able to throw another card and get other game and test benchmarks, but for now that's where I'm gonna go with. So yeah, that's pretty much for the parts for this build. So stay tuned for the final results, and then I'll go over everything again, and then we'll jump right into some game and test benchmarks. So stay tuned for that. This 10th gen Core i7-10700K featuring the new LGA 1200 socket came out today, May 20th, 2020. And it features 14 nanometer technology, 8 cores and 16 threads, 3.8 gigahertz base frequency, 5.1 gigahertz max turbo frequency, and 16 megs cache, and 125 watt TDP. and it currently retails for $410. And along with that, I picked up the cheapest Z490 board available at the store, which is the Asrock Z490M Pro4, which retails for $150. Now, because of the store that I go to, they have a combo price of $20 off when you pair these two together. So basically, you get the motherboard for $130, the processor for $410, so it's around $530 plus tax. Still, in my opinion, very expensive, but maybe worth it. Who knows? We'll see how well this thing overclocks and see what kind of gaming performance we get out of this monster here. So stay tuned for that. Alright, the 10th gen i7 build is finally ready. Now, of course, I had to change a few parts from the original parts list that I had listed in the beginning of the video. Just a couple. One of them being the RAM sticks. Because of the size of this huge CPU cooler, the other RAM sticks just wouldn't fit. So I had to go with the TridentZ RGBs, 3200 megahertz. These are really good RAM sticks. They're very compatible with AMD and Intel's, and they look great. Also, I went ahead and went for the best graphics card in my arsenal. I had this thing for a couple of years already. It's a GTX 1080 Ti. It's not the fanciest one. It's a turbo edition, and it does get pretty hot. And most of the time I do have to increase that fan, and it gets a little bit loud, but I'm kind of used to it. But it is a good overclocker and never let me down. I had this for a few years. This is my workhorse. This is what I like to test out more of the high-ender products. In this case, the i7 definitely qualifies. Now, yes, I went ahead and overclocked this thing last night and sometime during the day too. And luckily, the new BIOS just came out earlier today, which allowed you to go past 5.1 gigahertz. Now, yeah, this thing gets hot, especially, you know, you need a pretty good cooler. So I'm not really sure if this cooler is doing justice. This thing runs pretty stable at 5.1 gigahertz on all cores. Anything higher than that, when it comes to gaming, everything just freezes and crashes for me. So what I did was actually, I did want to go past 5.1 in gaming. I wanted to show you that. So what I did was disable the hyper threading to 8 cores only. So right now, when I'm testing it, when it comes to games, it's going to run at 5.3 gigahertz on all 8 cores, and the temperatures seem to be pretty reasonable. Not bad at all. Also, I'm very disappointed that the MSI Afterburner, which I always use to show you the stats, since this processor is still new, they don't have the option for the core clock, and I really wanted to showcase that 5.3 gigahertz. Really sucks. Definitely disappointed by that, but I will be able to show that the core clock speed in the CPU-Z and HW Monitor Pro, so you'll see that there. But otherwise, yeah, I'm gonna have to wait. It was pretty much the same with the new Ryzen chips too. You know, you have to wait for the core clock option to be available, so that's how it is. This thing is new. Yeah, so overall my experience is pretty good. With the processor being overclocked and this graphics card being overclocked, really getting good FPS on 1080p and 4K resolutions, and that's what I'm going to show you. Usually I like to just run like 4 games, so we'll see how it looks. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. Leave any comments down below. And without further ado, let's get to those gaming test benchmarks. So stay tuned. Okay, before I get into the gaming test benchmarks, I just want to show you really quick what we're working with. As you can see, I am running on only 8 cores right here and clocked at 5.3 gigahertz. And let me see my temperatures that are currently right now. So we're like starting off in the 40s. Not bad at all. That's pretty much how it looks. Yep, and that's all. So now let's get into some real gaming test benchmarks. Stay tuned. Alright, so the first game I'll test out for this video here is Resident Evil 3 Remake. Now once again, unfortunately, being that this processor is new, I'm unable to show you the core clock, but it is running at 5.3 gigahertz on only 8 cores with hyperthread disabled. After testing it back and forth at 5.1 on all 16 threads versus 5.3 on 8 cores only, I found out that it's a better performance just to run without hyperthread at 5.3 gigahertz. So that's what we got here. And also the 1080 Ti is slightly overclocked by 100 megs on the core and 300 megs on the memory clock. And we're going to test it out both on 1080p and 4K resolution. So let me show you the settings. I am using DirectX 11 as always when it comes to this game. DirectX 11 is a better performer. If when it comes to this thing, you get a little bit more FPS, and it just, to me, just runs more stable. So we're on 1080p on max preset. So these are the kind of settings you expect. As you can see, we're at above 12 gigs of VRAM. Don't worry about that. It's running pretty good. No issues at all. When you have powerful hardware like that, yeah, you could definitely afford to go over the threshold. So let's see how it looks here. We got a really good frame rate average. The game runs smooth. As you could see, the temperatures are pretty good. And you see that the CPU is not really used too much, and that's what I was talking about. Really 8 cores. Some games, few out there that probably might use more than eight cores, but this game doesn't need it, and I go with the higher core clock instead. And again, everybody's test results may vary. I really take my time and I keep testing over and over with different settings to get you the best possible results, and that's how you see me usually record this way, so that way it's very accurate and you could see it in real time, the settings and the the performance. Those of you new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. If you want the best, most accurate FPS results on the newer games and older games, this is the right place to be. Okay, now let's jump into 4K. Again, I'm keeping the same settings. It's still on max quality. Yeah, you could definitely expect to be, you know, in the 60s, sometimes higher on the average, with everything maxed out on 4K with this setup. If you're not getting this, then you know, you're doing something wrong. Alright, well that's it for Resident Evil 3. On to the next game. And here we have Battlefield 5. First I'll start off with 1080p, everything maxed out on Ultra, as you could see. And that's Battlefield 5. On to another.
Sorry, Cal. Don't worry about it.
I don't think these tools are going to make it to the ship.
Up here. Will you look at that? Separatist ship. Haven't seen the Luke or Hulk in ages. Yeah. Ages. Breaking her will be big money. All right, let's go.
Look out!
Hands up!
Hey, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Meet you at the clamps.
Depart this barge immediately. You are not approved trash.
Approved trash? It's not approved trash.
Easy there.
Just passing through.
Careful, stabilizers out. You're coming us. I told you to replace the stabilizer. Just breathe on it. Oh, you fixed it? Is this for face to you?
Sounds like scrap rats. Creepy. Just passing through, guys. Now we need to come out and say hi this time.
Hey, Cal, I'll meet you at the clamps.
Sounds good. Be there soon. Whoa.
How'd you get here?
How'd you get here?
Huh?
Well, I'm gonna wrap it up with this last game here, Control. One of the harder games to run. Just let me show you my settings here. We're on 1080p on the highest settings. No problem running this game, that's for sure. Yeah. It's been a while now. A couple of days testing these things out. A lot of issues in the beginning, of course. The temperatures don't match. Sometimes in the BIOS a bit off versus the actual gameplay. But overall, you know, as the time passes on, they're gonna fix it. And I had this issue before. It may look hot in the BIOS or in certain games, and throughout time with updates and you know, newer BIOS and stuff like that, it all comes together.
Bureau of Control. All these years I've been looking for them, and they were hiding in plain sight.
But overall, the processor does what it does. Is it one of the best gaming processors out there? I don't know. You be the judge.
Hello? Hey, it's...
I hear about the job. Janitor's assistant. You need to go that way.
I'll got it.
But you work for me. Because
I've done enough night shift loaner jobs to know it makes us come off weird. Auntie the janitor is a friendly face in my book. The cell and the poster. I was 11 years old the first time I saw behind the poster. They told me I imagined it. I've been trying to pull it down ever since. Will you help? Did I lose you there for a moment? You know what's on my mind. My baby brother, Dylan.
Well, that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. I spent a lot of time on this bad boy. Leave any comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.